All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. You know what Friday means. My man, Big Marley, and I talking some fights. It was supposed to be 13. Now we got 12, which is definitely a little unfortunate. Not the week we wanted either, with the live final on the second round. 5 for 5, baby, from Shipping Nation. Or if you're a part of, which I knew was a part of Shipping Nation. I got through. Hoop got through. Sheets, of course, Sheets is all over the place. He's in the Discord at Shipping Nation, so I'm calling him there. And why was I thinking 5 for 5? Me, Hoop.
J something.
I know it's JB. I wanted to pull up to get his exact one. So maybe only 4. I'm not sure why I thought 5. But here, I'll get it right there. JB or JPBARR04 as well. So maybe 4 for 4. I know Hoop had another seat, didn't get in. So 4 for 5 if you want to go that way. 12 fights, not great though. Hey, we still got 100K up top. I think Rio was in the shipper last week with Anthony Smith too. Rio ship showdown yesterday as well. Absolutely on fire. Yep, absolutely on fire.
Rio.
Absolutely on fire right there. We're in St. Louis. We got a live crowd. It's a fight night card. I almost called you G Rising. I'm talking too much baseball with G Rising. Oh gosh. It's a fight night card, but I think it's actually one of the best fight night cards we've had in terms of violence and fun fights. My broadside overview, I'll throw it to you. Say hi to people, and we'll go fight by fight. Main card, way better fights. Way better inside the distance props. Ownership will follow. These prelims, the mid-tier, not great. Like JJ Aldridge, Veronica Hardy to start it off. A fight people are going to ignore. Hadley Charles Johnson, a fight not many people will get to. Tabitha Ricci Torres in the mid-tier, not many will get to. So I think it's pretty clear where ownership's going to go. We were supposed to have 13 fights. Giuseppe Gooden is now off. Gooden didn't even weigh in because of some medical problems, which is a little sad. I like Giuseppe in that fight as a somewhat interesting pivot, kind of, I thought, in the upper tier. I thought Despain was higher owned. I thought Rebecky would be higher owned. I thought one other person was going to be higher owned, too. All of them. Maybe it was those two. Despain, Rebecky. Yeah, those two for sure. So, yeah, 12 fights, very good. A lot. Last thing I will mention, too, I'm just rambling at this point. So many short dogs outside of Rebecky, who's minus 510. We have nobody over minus 265, which is Carlos Olberg. And again, DraftKings, how they price, they don't want to have two 7,600 fighters. FanDuel, they're fine having 4 fighters at $14 because they all go about money line odds. DraftKings, that's not the case. So you do have a lot of underdog money line value, and a lot of them have solid inside the distance props as well, which can lead you to leaving more money on the table, etc. Because it's not crazy to see multiple plus 160 dogs win and like a 2 favorite 4 underdog. Like this could be a card we see that. So that's all my broad slate overviews lumped into one. Jumping all over the place though. G. Kiefer, Ben, Lone Wolf, Whaler, Samir, Bring the Noise, Michael Peterson, Camabro. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Big Marley. Time to throw it to you. How's your day going? How do you think this card is?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just got flipped on its head. My original contrarian play was going to be Jared Gooden, and I didn't even know it was canceled until 10 minutes ago. So just kind of catching up, and now I got to figure out other ways to get different because I'm targeting all the fights that everybody else is targeting. I guess I'm just hoping to get the right combination now, and I'll split with the winners. But I do want to think of some ways to get a little bit different. I just haven't had time to do that yet. So we'll talk it over. I'll go over things as we're talking about it. And then hopefully some things will start to pop in the head. But I originally had 50 lineups. I liked how they looked. And now I just messaged DraftKings to pull them all for me. And I'm going to start from scratch. So we'll see how it goes. I do think it's a good card, though. I think I have more 5-star ratings than I ever have before, though. And those are going to be the fights that everybody wants to target. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, when Terrence McKinney's on the card, when Derek Lewis is on the card, I mean, I guess Olberg a little bit too. Like when Slava Claus and Chase Hooper go at it, like there's just so many fights that it's really hard to make a case to fade, to ignore, It is going to be popular. You can eat chalk in MMA. Just surround it with a low-owned fighter. Leave 1,000 on the table. That's what I'll be looking to do in chalk your cards. Let's start. Actually, no. Before we go, again, appreciate everyone hanging out. Like button, subscribe button. If you want to join us at the Nation, though, huge week for DFS. If you're a DFS player, you're a sports fan, you know it's a monster week. MMA, NASCAR, PGA Showdown, NBA playoffs, MLB, NHL playoffs. That's 6 right there. League of Legends is probably going on. Some sort of esports. I know we do have a channel in there, Joshua Hart put some stuff in there once in a while. I don't know if tennis is still going. I imagine. I know Jack Humphrey, some other people. Again, we don't have a product. We don't have like projections. We don't charge for it. But members do play the sports. They put a little tidbits in the Discord. Hey, there's probably even more than 6 sports going on this week if you want to make some money. But we do have the 6: MMA, NASCAR, PGA Showdown, MLB, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. No better time. Get over. Also celebrating our 1-year anniversary on Wednesday. Last chance to get in for the lowest prices before they go up. 15% off if you use the promo code BDAY15 for monthly, for 6 month, for annual packages. Some people are charging what we're charging. If you do the annual package comes out to about $42 a month. People are charging that literally just for MMA or just for some other niche sports. We have all the sports, the Shiptimizer now. If you haven't heard about that, check out the PGA show from 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. Tambo and Hoop talked a lot about that. It's our own optimizer. Still working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes on it. PGA, MLB. If you have MLB only, you can do the MLB optimizer. PGA only, check out the PGA optimizer. If you have monthly, 6-month, annual, right now you can mess around with both of them for absolutely no cost. It will be charged eventually. It's going to be under $100 for content and the optimizer. Can't beat that deal in the industry. And we will have MMA. It is on the horizon. I think we're like 3 weeks out. NASCAR optimizer as well. So very excited for that. Let's talk some MMA though, Big Marley. Bottom to top, 12 fights. Again, these first couple fights, for the most part, are a lot worse than the last fights, and ownership will follow. Veronica Hardy, JJ Alder kicks off the card, -141. Hardy plus 121 is Aldrich. This fight is the most likely to go the distance on the card. It's plus 300 to finish. Hardy plus 400, Aldrich plus 700. I ain't playing JJ Aldrich. I'll tell you that for free. That chick has zero upside unless she's fighting Liang Na, who everyone has upside against. Unfortunately, she is cut as of yesterday. So the DFS printer no longer exists. But yeah, I mean, Aldrich, outside of Liang Na, has never scored over 100. Just no upside in this fight. So easy fade for me there. I'll throw it to you on this question. Can Hardy, is Hardy going to wrestle a lot in this fight? I think she's probably going to try and shoot for some takedowns. She wasn't scared against Juliana Miller. And that's what I want. I think Hardy's interesting. She'll be in my pool. And that's because if she does wrestle, maybe 4 takedowns, maybe 6 minutes of control time, ground and pound strikes. I don't know. It's low level, mid-level women's MMA. Probably going to go the distance. It's probably not going to score great, but it's going to be low owned. And if I'm eating a lot of chalk, maybe Hardy will be someone that I mix and match in. Do I love it? No. If she somehow outscores Derek Lewis, though, that's when you'll be looking at a unique shipper or a lot less dupes as a pivot in a bad range where all the ownership's going to Derek Lewis in the Hooper fight. Not much to add, though. Talk about if you think Hardy will wrestle and then break it down.
Yeah, I don't see her matching 4 takedowns that she had in that Miller fight. I mean, she looked like a wrestler in that fight, but she's really a striker. So I expect this fight to mainly play out on the feet, not too crazy of a pace, no knockout. So I'm just going to make it easy, and I'm going to X both of these fighters out of my player pool. Hardy's never scored 100 points. Take Liang Na out of the question, and neither is Aldridge. So this is going to be my favorite fight to fade on the entire card. Hope it doesn't burn me right out of the gates, but I think this is going to be a split decision. So I picked Aldridge because she has that plus next to her name, but I have no lean in this one, and I don't think I even care who wins for DraftKings. I expect like 65 points from the winner, and that's not going to cut it. So Xing these guys out, making it a little easier for the rest of the card. But I think everyone else on this card is pretty playable, especially now that we have the Jusette and Gooden fight off. There were some other fights that I was probably going to get away from, but now I'm guessing I got to bring them back in a little bit.
Yeah, so no, you don't think this fight hits the mat really at all, or if it does, it goes right back. Like if Aldrich gets a takedown, Hardy gets up, vice versa?
I would say neither fighter's getting more than 2 takedowns.
All right, cool. Yeah. And if you tell me that and it goes to decision, it's really hard to see. Like, these girls aren't going to be landing 180 significant strikes or anything to break the slate. So, yeah, I think it's really just wrestling. I'll have some Hardy in case the takedowns are there, but I don't like this fight really at all. Yeah, it's supposed to be Jusette Gooden. Maybe it saved me a little bit because I was going to have a decent amount of Jusette. He's been impressing me. Again, that fight is not on the card. Hey, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I'm not happy to see it.
Then.
Yeah, it saved one of us. I was truly debating him in the Q team as well. I thought he was going to be a little overlooked. I thought he was going to probably make it a little easy. You might have scared me, though, so don't have to worry about Good and Jusette. Maybe for another day. Next fight on the card, Jake Hadley, Charles Johnson. Hadley, 8,600. Johnson, 7,600. Odds, only minus 128 for Jake Hadley, plus 108 for Charles Johnson. This fight's plus 190 to finish. Hadley, plus 300. Charles Johnson, plus 480. So we've seen a lot of line movement in this fight. Open minus 145, plus 125 Hadley. Hadley got all the way down to like minus 160, literally just 3 days ago. Tuesday, he was minus 160. Now it's minus 28. So Charles Johnson's taking a lot of money. This is kind of what I said in the beginning. They won't price anybody the same on DraftKings unless it's like a late notice replacement and they have to. I mean, this fight should be priced. We literally just talked about 8,200, 8K, Hardy Aldrich, and this is a closer line right now at minus 130 or minus 128, 108. So this should be the 8,200, 8K fight, and you're getting then Johnson at a 4K discount, Hadley at roughly a $400 overspend. I still am not sure. Here, I'll look quick at her. Everything will be up on the site shortly after this, projections, ownership, fight rankings, etc. I'm looking right now. We have Charles Johnson 17%, Hadley 15%. Yeah, I don't want to say them all, but this is important. Hadley, I think you can use in very chalky lineups, kind of like we talked about, and maybe there's some wrestling upside because Johnson's been taken down a ton. But I think Charles Johnson's the right side because he can't get controlled on the mat. I trust his cardio more. Maybe Johnson can get some takedowns. Like Hadley's been taken down plenty too. Does have solid grappling. I don't think he submits Charles Johnson though. And on the feet, good cardio, some volume, and he's $7,600. So I prefer Charles Johnson even at 17% compared to 15%. I don't like Hadley much at all. It's really just in really chalky lineups. And I still might even fade him at the end of the day. So give me Charles Johnson in this one. However, can he beat Chase Hooper? Can he beat Terrence McKinney in a win? Can he beat Billy Goff in a win? Can he beat Waldo Corsa Acosta in a win? Like, I have him ranked all below them in terms of ceiling, but he's obviously more likely to beat all of them. Ruieboev, another one, etc. So, yeah, take this one away. I like Charles Johnson to win. DFS, though, I'll be probably overweight just because of the nature of this card and his ownership. Do I love it, though? Not really.
Yeah, I'm like changing my opinion on this one. I did this fight on Tuesday, I believe, and Hadley was over minus 160. So I picked Johnson because I figured the value was on his side. But now the line's kind of catching up, and Hadley's still $1,000 more on DraftKings. So his ownership's going to go down while Johnson's is climbing a little bit. And I'm starting to switch it to where now Hadley's my contrarian play at this point. If Hadley wins, most of it's going to come on the ground. He can land high volume in the early rounds too, as long as he's not going to slow down. But his biggest edge is going to be on the ground. My issue is that he's had 4 UFC fights and he's never landed a takedown. But right here, you're going against a guy who's been taken down like 100 times in his UFC career. So it's there for the taking. Both of Hadley's wins are over 100 points on DraftKings. And I do think he has a 100-point ceiling here where Johnson is playing for 10X in my eyes. And I don't think 10X gets it done on this card, but I do think he's a live dog to win. So the way I see it is I might match the field, maybe even go a little bit lower on Johnson now that the ownership is climbing. And then Hadley was going to be more of a fade to me too before, but now that Gooden's off the card, I'm looking at Hadley as my possible contrarian play to get a little bit different because even in a decision, I think he can score over 10X, but maybe even 100 points. But he's nasty on the ground. He could get a submission, even though Johnson hadn't been submitted yet. He's got pretty good striking, too, while he's fresh. So I picked Johnson to win, but my preferred DraftKings play now is going to be Hadley. And the more that this line changes, I think that Hadley ownership will keep shrinking a little bit too, and that makes me like him more and more. So preferred play Hadley, but winner is the underdog.
Yeah, Hadley ownership's going to be very low. Like he can't get owned. Derek Lewis will be a lot higher owned for $100 less. People would rather go up to the Rebecky, to the Slaviclaus is even less owned right there. The Buckley fight's interesting. Yeah, like it's a tough click at Hadley at this money line, and it still might even keep closing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it goes off minus 120, 100, like even minus 115 a pop or something. So yeah, I'd still prefer the Johnson side, but I do everything you said about Hadley. He can get Johnson can be taken down. If Hadley gets 4 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time, there is a 100+ ceiling, no doubt about that. So a low-owned fight, I'll have both of them. Prefer Johnson, though, personally, for the 1K savings. What are your thoughts, quick, Big Marley? Just say this fight, it starts the 3rd round. We know that for sure. Is Johnson going to, double him up in volume? Do you feel way better about his pace? He ripped to the body, or you think it still would be a competitive 5 minutes on the feet?
Yeah, the 3rd round, I feel like would be Johnson. I don't know about doubling him up, but if there's a finish in the 3rd round, it's probably Johnson really pushing for it. But I could see Hadley maybe winning the first 2 rounds at that point. Maybe it's just too late for Johnson. So I don't know. I would just rather target the higher ceiling underdogs that I don't feel as good about winning.
Yeah.
But that's what I said last week about Aldo, and I ended up fading Aldo, and that burned me. So maybe just
he wasn't on the winner, was he? Was he on the winner?
Was he not? There was only 2 underdogs that won. I didn't even look at the optimal because I knew I wasn't around it. But just going into that fight, I was like, Aldo's my favorite dog. I think he should be favored, but I still didn't even use him, and he was one of 2 dogs that ended up winning. And I could just see that being the case for Johnson. Maybe not many dogs end up winning, and he puts up 79 points and can maybe get there.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to see if Rio, what day would that have been? Man, so many messages in Discord. I know he posted it right here. Yeah, it wasn't no, he wasn't on the winner. It was Pantoja, Anthony Smith, Brito, Orobly, Costa, Hoofy. Because you got the Costa in the mid-tier, Orobly, the Brito was kind of in the mid-tier. Anthony Smith was such a punt. So yeah,
he was so cheap. Yeah, it makes sense.
He wasn't even in there. But you are right. You were definitely right, though. Yeah, only 2 dogs won. It's still if Johnson scores 75 in a win, I wouldn't have none in case a lot of the favorites won, but I wouldn't have much at all because so many closely lined fights. I'm expecting some I think you'll probably need 600 on the winner this week. These dogs, plenty of dogs have 100+ point upside. We'll keep it going right into one that does have 100 point upside, in my opinion, which is Billy Goff as a plus 145 dog against Trey Waters, who's minus 170. This fight's minus 220 to finish. Trey Waters plus 115. Billy Goff plus 230. I'll throw it right to you in this one. Big tail to tape advantage, height disadvantage. Trey Waters kind of Bobby Green-esque, in my opinion. Throws from the hip. The shots come at weird angles. Good striker. Now, he doesn't talk like it. Maybe not the shoulder roll as much, but some of his striking, that's what I look at. Unorthodox, but definitely gets the job done. Put a pace on Quinlan, doubled him up, looked really good last fight. Billy Goff, a junkyard dog. How do you see this fight going? Who gets their hand raised?
Yeah, I like this fight. Both sides of it. I am picking Waters to win, but I like Goff more than Johnson because Goff has a 100% finish rate. If Goff wins this fight, he's got a really good chance at the optimal lineup. And if he wins and Johnson wins, he's outscoring Johnson. So I just like to target ceilings. Even though I'm picking him to lose, I think Goff is a great play. And I'd even be fine with him in my single entry. But I'd also be okay with Waters in my single entry. We got, minus 205 that the fight ends inside the distance. Both of these guys are alive for the knockout. And they could also land a couple takedowns along the way too. But the way I see it is just Waters being a little bit too slick, just peppering Goff up on the feet. And I think those will start to add up. And then the longer this fight goes, I think it plays into Waters' favor. My issue is that I'm picking Waters to win a decision. And at $8,800, it's probably going to be tough for him to make the optimal lineup in a decision. So that makes me like it less. but that's just my prediction. I don't always go off my predictions. I like to look at Vegas metrics and everything too. So if Waters goes out there and gets a first round knockout, he's also not super owned on this card. I don't know. I'm fine with Waters in my single entry too. This is one where I just see them both being like in a quarter of my total lineups, and I would be fine with either one in a single entry. I'm picking Waters to win, but if I end up with more Goff exposure, I'm fine with that. I just think that this is going to be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. It's one of my favorite fights on the card from a watching purpose, but I do think it'll be fireworks, especially early. But I see Goff kind of slowing down as the fight moves along, just based on his style alone. He throws everything in every punch he has, and when he's going for takedowns, he's going for hard, heavy takedowns too. So I just think he slows down, and Waters doesn't, and Waters wins 2, maybe even all 3 rounds on the scorecards. But if Goff wins, he's got a really good chance at the optimal lineup.
Oh, yeah. If Goff wins, like, it's not guaranteed because, again, there's Terrence McKinney, there's Chase Hooper, there's Ruieboev. Like, there's plenty of dogs in this card that have 100-plus point upside, and Goff is definitely one of them. I don't have much more to add. Like, I'm on your side. The 7-inch height advantage for Waters, 5-inch reach advantage. I mean, he's just a slick striker. Like, Water got pillow hands. I don't know if I'll quite go that far. I mean, he is plus 115 inside the distance, plus 135 by knockout. I don't know. Quinlan has, I think, a solid chin, too. He showed it in the last fight against, left hand from God before he got put away or something. He ate a ton of damage. But it is more touch him up at distance, avoid the big shots. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think he'll just outpoint Goff for the most part, avoid the big shots. I do think Goff will probably try and wrestle a little bit if he is getting tagged early. Might have some success. It's kind of hard to control. Waters on the mat being so long, though. My preferred play is Goff for the $1,400 savings. And, I think you can leave $1,400 on the table on this card. In the large field, the $3, the $15. If Goff at plus 145 beats Waters, which isn't crazy at all, leaving $1,400, you just fill the Waters lineup and go Goff. That can get the job done, I think, on this card, and something I'll be looking to do in the very large stuff, especially with 13 fights down to 12 fights. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. I don't want to say I think Goff has more upside than Waters, but I think it's pretty close because I think Goff's more likely to wrestle. The first round props on both guys, I guess Waters is much better, plus 215 in round 1 compared to Goff at plus 650. So I'll backtrack a bit on that. At the end of the day, you mentioned it, though. Waters will be one of the lower-owned people in the upper tier. I'll be using Trey Waters. I like Trey Waters a lot more than I like Hadley as a lower-tier pivot, as a lower-owned option in the upper tier. So I'll be playing Waters in chalkier lineups. I'll be going Goff in more when I have some low-owned spot when I'm leaving money on the table, since it is easier to leave money on the table with Goff. But I do think he comes in probably more popular, or at least right around the same as Waters with the savings. So I got Waters. I got him. I think I said by decision too. Not a confident take by that at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he knocked him out. I wouldn't be surprised if Goff landed a big one or wrestled, ground and pound, etc. Plus 115 inside the distance Waters, plus 230 for Goff, and it was plus 260 earlier in the week. So it has moved in his favor, which is nice to see. Goff trains with a 6'7" dude with longer reach than Waters. A lot of these, some of these 155ers train to 180, 185 or 185s and stuff too. Good information if you like that. If you think that helps them in this one, definitely good. But 7 inches in height, 5 inches of reach is absolutely no joke. Next fight on the card, Tabitha Ricci, Tisha Pennington, which was Tisha Torres, who's coming off a 2-year layoff. She had a baby, minus 140, plus 120, plus 275 for this fight to finish. Ricci plus 400 inside the distance. Torres plus 600. Another one of those lower-owned mid-tier fights that it's hard to see end up on the optimal, especially on the Torres side. Torres is Aldridge for me. She just does not have a ceiling, in my opinion. Easy fade there. Ricci's my preferred play, but I'll throw it to you with the same question as the Hardy fight. Is she going to land takedowns in control time? Because I think that's what she needs to hit her ceiling.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think she does, but she does have the higher ceiling with her wrestling game. But I'm picking Tisha to win, and I would be more confident in Tisha winning if it wasn't for the 2-year layoff and having a baby. I'd probably favor her slightly. I just flipped the line, I guess. But this is another one where it was like, I wouldn't lay juice on Ricci. So let me just go ahead and pick Tisha with the plus money as my prediction. But I'm picking her by split decision. I don't see a real ceiling for her. But she did score well against Angela Hill just by landing a lot of volume. And I do think if she can keep this fight on the feet, she could land decent volume and maybe score 86 points or something like that. I doubt 86 gets it done, but maybe. So I'm not going to X her out of my player pool. But I think she'll be a little bit lower owned than Ricci. And she's probably my preferred play for that reason. Even though Ricci is the ceiling play of the two, I would just rather target other favorites who have higher and more likely ceilings. So yeah, give me Tisha to win a really close fight, but I think most of this fight takes place on the feet, and we're going to need a lot of volume to have any chance at like a 90-plus score, but I doubt either one of them are hitting 90 in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Torres / Pennington is my preferred play if I had to bet this fight with the slight dog money. I think it's a really close fight. I think it mainly stays on the feet. The reason I prefer Ricci to Torres is because if someone has 6 takedowns in this fight or a lot of control time, it's on the Ricci side. There's no doubt about that. Do I think it happens? No. Ownership will be low enough, I think. Again, I do think Ricci's higher owned than Torres, but I do think her upside is higher. Yeah, if Torres goes out there and puts an Angela Hill type performance, 100+ significant strikes, dominates there, scores 95 or whatever, maybe it's good enough. I will not have her, though. Probably takes me 40+ teams, maybe 50+ teams to get any Torres personally. Again, not a great fight, though. We just talked about, 4 fights. The Aldridge Hardy fight, bad. Hadley Johnson fight, bad. Waters Goff fight, good. Ricci Torres fight, bad. Now we're going to get into banger, 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 cheeks, banger, 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 banger. So let's lock in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ownership's going to follow. Expect some big scores, though, right here. Can't get a better fight. I mean, it's on the prelims. It might be the best fight on the card. Esteban Ruieboev taking on Terrence McKinney. Anytime you see the name Terrence McKinney, you know inside the distance will be juiced to the gills. -800 for this fight to finish. Under 1.5, -220. Rebecky, -150. McKinney, +180. I'll be playing a ton of this fight. Now I'm going to throw it to you on this, Big Marley. How does Terrence McKinney not get takedowns early and get in dominant position? Like, I feel like that's got to be the most free of all free. Rebecky's a very good striker. I'll say very good striker. I love his hands. I love how he mixes it up. He can get taken down, though. I mean, he's got, 11 times in his debut. Kirk took him down early, had him problems in round 1. McKinney's dangerous. He can wrestle. People forget a college wrestler. He has some grappling on him, too. He probably needs to get it done in the first round. I'm saying Terrence McKinney in round 1. And I'm saying buy sub because I think he can go out there and get takedowns early. I'm trusting him to actually finish a fight, which is scary in round 1. He's done it plenty. If he doesn't, like against Nazim, he dies. I think Nazim's grappling and his defensive grappling is better than Rebecky. So give me the dog in McKinney. If McKinney doesn't win, though, Rebecky probably puts up a big score. But last thing on this, I am a little hesitant on that because if you say Rebecky second round KO, that could mean McKinney with 4 minutes of control time in round 1. Nazim, like he did, all right, now he's gassed in round 2 as McKinney. He gets a finish in the first minute, 2 minutes of that second round. That's probably not enough. That's probably like 90, 95. Especially because McKinney's fine not taking a beating. Like, he'll quit in the second round, which I'm not going to hate on him. Like, he knows he's not winning the fight. Live to fight another day. He's so active with his fights. Bonus machine. Like, all right, I'll take less damage, lose this one because I already gave it my all. Get back here in 4 months and try and get another bonus. So, yeah, I'm rambling at that point. Give me McKinney first round sub.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. And I would say that the only way McKinney is not landing takedowns in round 1 is if he's going for the knockout in round 1. I would favor McKinney in this fight if it was a 5-minute fight. I think he's going to look really good in round 1, but he should be going for takedowns. And I think he could probably dominate that first round, if not finish. But if he makes it out of that first round, he's going to end up quitting on himself at some point, and it's just going to be all Rebecky from there. And that's when Rebecky can start piling on points. Plus, he's going to get his finish bonus at some point, too. So I like both sides of the fight, but I do think we can make a case for a Rebecky winning in the second round and just not making it because he lost the first. Whereas if McKinney wins this fight, he's on the optimal lineup. So I think that's probably going to lead me to more McKinney lineups than Ribovics because there's a lot of favorites I want to get in my lineups. But McKinney has like the highest ceiling on the entire card probably, and he's $7,300. So I'm picking him to lose. I do think he's going to end up quitting on himself at some point, and Ribovics wins. But the best way to get an investment in Terrence McKinney is on DraftKings because he just breaks slates when he wins. His lowest score outscores Ribovics' last win at 92. And I think if McKinney wins here, it's going to be like 105 plus with 130 point upside. So I can't pass up on that. I probably want more than a third of my lineups to have McKinney, I think, at this point. And then I'm kind of the same with Ribovics. I want like 30%, maybe 35% Ribovics. It's just that he's going to be harder to fit in my lineups because there's a lot of favorites that I'm fine squeezing in there. And I could just see him getting outscored in a win where nobody's outscoring McKinney if he wins, especially as underdogs. So banger fight. This is my second favorite fight on the card as a whole to target.
After Despain.
Hooper fight's my favorite.
Okay. We'll get to that one. Because
of the Spain, I like his side. I don't really care for the fight as a whole.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm gonna be loading up on this fight. I don't even hate like at this point there's 12 fights on the card, but in my opinion, there's 11 fights on the card since I'm Xing out that first one. I might just make a rule, man, where I lock in one of these guys and one of the Hooper ones. I can see the case for Ribovics not being there, which makes me not want to do that. But I just want to load up on those two fights, get as much as I can, throw some into the pot, and just hope to get the right combo.
For sure. And I will say, like we mentioned earlier, you can leave $1,400 on the table. I can make a Ribovics lineup and go Terrence McKinney. It's a lot easier leaving money on the table when you play someone like Hooper, when you play someone like McKinney, when you play someone like Goff, because all three of them, while they are 7,400, 75, 77, I would not be surprised if any of those were the highest scores on this slate, regardless of the price. Outscores the main event, outscores Rebecky, outscores Olberg, etc. McKinney has that type of upside. I mean, the dude's plus 220 in round one at 7,500 or 7,300. Like, you just never see that. Let me double check. He's 73. Yeah, you just never see that. Plus 200 for Ribovics. I will say I was a little surprised to see Ribovics with a slightly better round one prop than McKinney. I don't personally agree with that. It's a lot of that's on the second half of the fight, unless they're just banking on McKinney trying to knock out Ribovics and throw down. But let's just say that, Big Marley. What do you cap this fight at? Just knowing McKinney's going to come out and just wing. Like, he can knock Ribovics out. He hurt Dober. You know, like if it was anyone but Drew Dober, Dober's knocked out. Like, I don't think it's crazy that McKinney knocks out Ribovics.
No, not at all.
No, but he's dangerous.
Yeah, like even in if this is a 1-round fight and they're not allowed to go for takedowns, I think McKinney's super live in that first round. I think he's more dangerous in the first 2 minutes of the fight. He's a lot more live for a 60-second bonus than Ribovics is.
For Vola, boom, boom.
Yeah, it's just he's gonna quit on himself if he doesn't get that finish. So
I will say,
man, I swear, when I started the card, I was like, "What the heck, McKinney like plus 150?" I was like, "I'm definitely gonna be betting him." And then I started digging into the table. I was like, damn it, he's going to end up getting pieced up if he doesn't get that finish. So I think that the line should be a little bit closer. But Ribovics has just more ways to win because McKinney's first round are bust, and Ribovics is a nasty striker. He even landed some takedowns in his last fight. I mean, it was against kind of a gassed Kirk, but we're going to have a gassed McKinney here. So I think he can land takedowns, do whatever he wants after the first round, and just pile up points. So I'm just going to load up on this one and hope that the winner scores over 100.
Yep, definitely makes a lot of sense to me. Most Terrence McKinney fights do. Keep it rolling. Next fight, Big Marley's favorite fight on the card. I cannot argue that one bit. Slava Claus, Borchev taking on Chase Hooper, minus 138. Borchev plus 118. Chase Hooper, minus 325 for this fight to finish. Borchev plus 100 inside the distance. Chase Hooper plus 195. So I will say, a lot of line movement in this fight. Open minus 145 Borchev, plus 125 Hooper. Got all the way down to minus 200 a couple days after the open. Was sitting at minus 180 just last week. Then slowly but surely, May 4th, minus 175. Slowly but surely, Hooper's been taking money. Everything I see on Twitter, They either love Chase Hooper or they love Slaviclaus. Shout out our guy John Kelly. Don't see him in YouTube chat here. See him a lot in the YouTube chat, though. Every time I pull up Twitter, I feel like I see my man John Kelly at the top talking about how Chase Hooper is going to own Slaviclaus because he has no takedown defense. It's either going to go that way with Chase Hooper getting a takedown, taking the back, just getting the fight to the mat at some point, and from there it's all Chase Hooper, or it's going to be Slaviclaus. I don't even know necessarily stuffing the takedowns, just kind of like the Steve Garcia Chase Hooper fight. If you haven't watched that fight, it'll take you like 4 minutes of your day. Go watch it. Absolute murder. Steve Garcia just knocked Chase Hooper down 3 times. Hooper couldn't do anything. He looks like a little kid against a grown man. We could very well see that. Slaviclaus, nasty kicks, nasty striking. Hooper is a dead man at distance. Borchev is probably a dead man on the ground. So whose style is going to prevail?
Yeah, I'm loading up on this fight. This is the one I probably make a rule that I want 100% of this fight because I think this is as binary as it gets. Like, you're going to have Borchev destroy him on the feet, or Hooper's going to take him down and just mop the floor with them. I mean, not really mop the floor, but take him down and then just put on a grappling clinic more so. And I think we're going to get a knockout from Borchev, or I say or a submission from Hooper, but it wouldn't shock me to see like him flatten him out and just got like a ground and pound TKO, something like that, I guess. But I just think we're getting a finish in this fight either way. And I think the winner is going to put up more likely 100 plus points. If Borchev wins, he could get 1 to 4 knockdowns in that first round and still win. And I just think that his striking in that first round is going to be just nasty, like nastier than Hooper's takedowns are for sure. So I'm leaning Borchev as my preferred play, but I could see me having like 60% Borchev, 40% Hooper, and hopefully being over the field on both of them. But it just wouldn't shock me at all to see Hooper get 1 takedown, Borchev never be able to get back up. And then I have freaking 60% of lineups with 0 points on it. So I don't know. I don't have a strong.
If you go
feeling.
40% Hooper and he gets all that, you're fine with that because you're at least still overweight. Like, I get what you're saying, but 60% lineups dead is not fun. But you really just need the optimal, which is why I don't care about any of that. If I have 90% dead, but just say a 5% owned fighter that I had 10% of won, hey, at least I have double the field on what will be in the optimal. So, yeah.
And I was I've been hoping that John Kelly was going to make this an even line, because if this was a pick'em fight, I do favor Borchev, and I will bet Borchev if we get a pick'em fight here. But I think the line is right now. I don't think that there's any value on them. I just think that we load up on this fight for DraftKings because the winner probably is on the optimal lineup.
Hey, Ryan Cox, appreciate that, man. Yeah, always have the energy. I'm pumped for tomorrow. Anytime we're talking fights, nothing better than fights on a Saturday on your TV. Appreciate you hanging out with us always, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Like button, subscribe button, again, helps us out a ton. If you want to join us at the Nation, best ownership in the MMA business, thanks to Big Marley. Slate plan, fight rankings, projections, all going up. We'll be loaded in the solver. NASCAR this weekend, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB, PGA showdown. 1-year anniversary next Wednesday for Shipping Nation. What a great time to be alive. What a great time to be a sports fan. A lot of money to be made. B-Day 15 is the promo code. Lock yourself in for the lowest prices before they go up. 15% off monthly, 6-month, or annual packages. If you just want to try us out for the week, see what we got to offer, $24 a week. It is a good time to do it with all those sports going on. No Discord, no promo code. Still, if you want to give us a try just for the week before you do go month, 6-month, whatever it may be, $24 a week. Perfect time to try it out with all these sports going on. Next fight on the card, and this is what I'm talking about. A little boring to start the card. We're going Terrence McKinney to a Chase Hooper fight to a Despain fight. I mean, come on now. It don't get any better than that. Fight night card could be a pay-per-view card, someone said. I think it's going to deliver like a pay-per-view card. Better than a lot of pay-per-view cards, I think. Let's go. Rebellis Despain, minus 250, taking out Waldo, Cortez, Aosta, plus 210. This fight's minus 800 to finish. Under 1.5, minus 225. Despain, minus 180. Cortez Aosta, plus 215. All right. Everyone's going to be playing Despain. He's actually, I think, with the Giuseppe fight off, even more ownership goes to Despain. Even more ownership goes to Rebecky, who I already thought were the two highest owned up top, which is why I was disappointed to see that fight off, since I did think Giuseppe could outscore both of them. I thought there was a path. Despain, the 6'7" monster, Taekwondo monster, never made it outside of first round, knocked Parisian out in like 18 seconds. Everybody's so high on this guy. The UFC knows what they're doing. They're giving him someone that I won't say won't shoot for takedowns, but we haven't seen it. It'd be very unlikely. However, I mean, man, if I knew I was fighting this Robellis Despain dude and I had a month or 2 month training camp, I might just be shooting takedowns in offensive wrestling because it's not fun to stand at range against this guy. Well, those are Cortez Aosta, though. I guess I'll throw it to you on this. A, do you think he mixes in takedowns, which I don't think so. But let's just say this fight gets out of the first round. Like, who are you favoring at that point? I'll be playing a Cortez Aosta as leverage off a very popular favorite in a very volatile fight because we have no clue what Despain will look like after round one if Cortez Aosta is somehow alive. But my pick is Despain by first round knockout because he's getting the fight he wants. And I freaking learned my lesson in Jamal Hill and Alex Ferrera. Like some of these guys, when the UFC knew, like, they're giving you a primary striker that's not going to wrestle. Why am I taking Jamal Hill against the primary striker? Easy to say that now, etc. But that is kind of my thought process, what I had in this fight. It's like, man, why am I taking a guy that's just going to strike and give him the fight he wants against this freaking beast, what it looks like in Despain? So when I fade Despain, it'll probably be against a wrestler for the first time. Despain by first round KO. With that being said, I might be more overweight to Aosta because I do think he's one of the best game theory plays on the slate. When he wins, big boy upside, low ownership, plenty of lineups dead. That's how you can solo ship if someone like Aosta wins. Take it away.
You asked me a question in there about Despain. Oh, yeah.
Do you think he's going to wrestle after round one and the wrestling? Yep.
After round one, I do favor Aosta. I think if this is going to go to a decision, I think Aosta wins 2 and 3. But if it makes it out of round one, I think Acosta's more live for the knockout, probably even in round 2 and 3. He's a big boy. And I mean, Despain is like the type of fighter that I usually fade, like a striker only. You're going to have to get a knockout at 9K, an early knockout too, if you want to be on the optimal lineup. But that's what he does. I mean, he's got 4 wins that have a combined fight time of 37 seconds. Like, so add all those times up, you're still getting your 60-second bonus and scoring 127 freaking points. So I like Despain because I think that the UFC wants him to win. And I like to follow that when I think UFC has a motive, and it's that 60-second bonus that we're really aiming for. I mean, he was like running backwards, like on his back step, and knocked this guy out with one shot in his last fight. And then you got Aosta who scored 50 points in a win against Arlovsky. He scored 59 points in a win against Vandera. Like, suck more, buddy. So I'm on the Despain side because I think Aosta can win this fight and just not come anywhere close to a McKinney or a Goff or there's like 2 or 3 others.
If Aosta, if I'm telling you right now, Aosta wins this fight, what percent are you playing him at? I'm playing him at 100, maybe 90, maybe 90. Maybe
not me.
90.
I think he is live for like 65 points in a win.
Okay.
But I went to look at my percentages that I had in 50, but DraftKings already pulled them. But I want to say I had 22% Aosta, which puts me overweight.
Yeah.
But I feel like I had like 60% Despain, something like that. I believe he was my highest owned fighter. So I'm gonna get leverage to both of them, but I'm gonna be more around that 80% rather than all in like I will on a Hooper Borchev because of the Aosta side. If Despain wins, I don't think it's a lock that it's gonna be a first round knockout, but I think that's his most likely path to victory, and it's gonna be 105 plus points. Unless it's a freaking 60-second, then it's gonna be 125 plus points, and that's what scares me away from fading the style that I like to fade. I'm going to be heavy on him, and then I'll just get a little bit of leverage on the Aosta side. But yeah, this is my 3rd favorite. Ooh, maybe 4th favorite fight on the card. I don't know about it. This is like a tie for the main event for me because I could make a case for both of them not being on the optimal lineup, but I think we're getting a first round knockout from Despain, so I'm going to have a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day you see literally the most likely outcome in this fight is Despain in round 1, which is minus 120. Like, that's insane. Aosta in round 1 is plus 600. Then you can see how close these odds get. Round 2, Despain plus 700, Aosta plus 775. So pretty much the same round 2 odds. I'm always looking bet online. Way different round 1 odds. Pretty much the same round 2. And if this fight gets to round 3, plus 1,100 for Aosta, plus 1,600 for Despain. So they're saying kind of like us, if this fight somehow gets to a third round, it's hard to favor Despain with never seeing him get that far, where we have seen Aosta get that far. Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I think Despain in round 1 too, but I might have more Aosta because I think he's the game theory play, one of the best game theory plays of the week. Next fight on the card, very, very short for me. I said banger, 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 Cheeks, banger, banger, banger. This is the Cheeks fight. Real life, I don't know. 2 solid fighters, Sean Woodson, Alex Caceras. Minus 225 is Woodson, plus 190 is Caceras. This fight's plus 200 to finish, though. Woodson plus 375, Alex Caceras plus 425. Then you look at the pricing in this fight. We have Woodson 9,100 and Caceras 7,100. Like, I'm just not playing Sean Woodson in 20 teams or less with the plus 375 inside the. We just talked about 9K Despain, who is minus 120 in round 1. $100 more, you can pay someone that's plus 375 just to finish the fight, period. Nessie has a tail to tape advantage. He's a good volume striker. But Alex Caceras can make fights boring. Just a good technical. You don't want him to take your back. You don't want to get on the mat with him. So be safe on the feet. But he'll bounce around on the outside, pick his shots. If he somehow lands a head kick, like maybe he can get there. At the end of the day, though, this is one of my least favorite fights on the card, if not my least favorite. I am not playing either side in 20 entry and below. Sean Woodson by decision is my pick. If I had to pick one of these fighters, I would take the 2K savings and play Alex Caceras, who I think's live. I just don't love his upside relative to these other dogs we talked about.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think that Woodson wins the fight because he'll be able to keep the fight on the feet. He's going to be the better boxer with the higher volume. But I just don't see Woodson making the optimal lineup unless he gets a first-round finish. And his first-round finish odds are plus 850, which is 10.5%. So that's what I'm going to max my Woodson exposure at.
Which is about the field. That literally,
yeah.
I think, will be about the field.
Yeah, and I would, with 20 or less, when I'm hand building, I won't be clicking on this guy. But I would be okay with 11% Woodson because that's like just a way to get different, really, on this card. But if Caceres wins, I feel like a submission is his best path to victory, and that could be enough for the optimal lineup. I also think he's somewhat live in a decision, but he's playing more for 10x, if that, in that case. So yeah, overall, not looking to target this fight, but I'd be okay with 10 to 15% either side. I'm just picking Woodson to win, which makes me like Caceres less. So yeah, give me Woodson to win and score like 80 points.
I like it. You and I see it the same. If his fight is on the winner, it is probably not a good day, at least in the large field stuff. It's not a good day for me. 4 fights left. Mateus Rebecky, the biggest favorite on the card at minus 510, taking on Carlos Diego Ferrera, plus 385. This fight is minus 205 to finish. Rebecky minus 150. Diego Ferrera plus 560. So, I mean, Carlos Diego Ferrera now, 39 years old, definitely getting up there, which you don't like to see, especially at these lighter weight classes. The dude is still skilled, though. Like, minus 510 feels a little wide. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not betting it by any means. However, I do think Rebecky's probably better wherever this fight goes. I think he can stay safe on top with takedowns. Ferrera, good grappler. Rebecky strong on top, though. Solid wrestling on the feet. Ferrera can land a big one, but I do think Rebecky's the minute winner. Also has power himself. I don't know. When I'm talking like this for a minus 510 favorite, though, it's usually not how we just say he's going to absolutely kill him. But I will say on this card, when I don't like a Sean Woodson up top, I think you can poke and hole in Olberg. Buckley could very well lose. Like, we poked a little hole in Rovix maybe. I just think there's enough live dogs where salary is not too crazy that I'm just going to play a bunch of Rebecky because I think he has the highest floor and plenty of ceiling upside. And you can still leave like 800 on the table with the Rebecky lineup and feel fine with those Goffs, McKinneys, Hoopers of the world, etc. So I'm not playing Ferrera, even though I think the line's wide. I'll be playing a lot of Rebecky because I think we have the salary for it in a tier of his own for the money line. Still expected to finish, and I do think he can mix in takedowns here, and I think he will. Do you think he will, and then break down this fight?
Yeah, I actually have this line. I have Rebecky like 12.5% too wide in this fight right here.
What does that come out to? Like minus 380 or something?
Right, I have them, I believe. I cap fights on a 5% range. So I capped him 68 to 73%. So like right around 70% if you're going to make it an exact line, which would be minus 300. But for DraftKings, like he is a beast. He's got power. He's a really good submission artist. He can wrestle. And he can also strike at a pretty high pace too. So I do think he can put up a good score. I just think that this is the toughest fight to date. And if Diego was just a little bit younger, I'd probably be betting him. I mean, he is the value side already, in my opinion. But I think he loses, which I haven't bet him yet for that reason. I probably won't bet him. But I also wasn't going to use any Diego when Gooden was on the card because I had a stupid amount of Gooden. I don't even remember how much it was. But now that that's off, I feel like Diego probably does make my pool, but maybe like a 10% play or something like that. And then Rebecky, I'll probably just match the field. If not, go a little bit lower. Like I feel like with MME, I'm cool matching the field, maybe even getting a little bit of leverage. But I've been trying to get away from him in my single entry, even if it's just to leave salary on the table to get a little bit different. So that's kind of how I see me playing this one. I think Rebecky does win, but I don't think he tops 100 for the first time in this fight. And I think he probably scores like 80 to 95 points. And even 95 points shouldn't get it done on this card. So I'm leaning towards just underweight on the fight as a whole. But with that cancellation, it's just going to bring a little bit more of both of them into my lineups, I'm guessing. If I had to put a number on both, an exact number that I'm going to have exposure to, I feel like 8% Ferrera, 35% Rebecky, something like that. That's what I see in my head. But give me Rebecky to win a decision.
So do you not think Rebecky, like you said 85-95, do you think it mainly stays on the feet and like maybe a takedown or two?
I think he'll get takedowns, but I do think it would be like 2 to 4 takedowns because Diego is dangerous on the ground.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how much Rebecky wants to play there, but Rebecky's freaking really good on the ground too. I just don't know how this one's going to play out.
Because like that's the word, like the reason I like him, everything you're saying makes sense. And I'm starting to maybe like, man, I should bump down my Rebecky ownership a little or something. But like if someone lands 10 takedowns on this card, or like I think it's Rebecky, or like Diego keeps getting up. All right, dump him, throw him back down on his face. Like Diego gets up. The longer this fight goes, I think I favor Rebecky's cardio. If he's putting on that pace and wrestling, it's a little harder. But Diego getting up there in age, and I mean, fighting off takedowns and trying to get up is exhausting too. So any last thoughts on an outlier 10 takedown performance or something crazy like that puts up 130? You don't think that's very likely at all?
No, I'd be really shocked to see him get really near 10 takedowns. I feel like he's going to be capped at like 6 takedowns in this one, I would think. And that's still, I would definitely take the under on that.
Yeah.
But if I had to set like a prop line on how many takedowns he's going to get, I feel like 2.5 would be the right number.
I would, yeah. The under then for sure makes
save money. Like I'm not very contrarian on this card, so that's just how I see me getting different. The lineup where I can fit Rebecky, I'm fine putting Olberg, I'm fine putting Despain, I'm fine putting Ruieboev, I'm fine putting Waters, I'm fine going all the way down to freaking Borchev or Lewis. I'll save $1,000.
Yeah, Lewis,
just to get away from him. So that's just wise because I'm not contrarian on this card. If I still had my good in contrarianism, then maybe I would get a little bit more Rebecky. I do think I had more than 40% with my original builds. But now I just got to find ways to get different, and maybe that's how I do it because he should be pretty damn owned on this card, and I don't know that I want leverage to the field.
Yeah, no, that all makes a lot of sense. That definitely is going to make me reconsider a little bit with my ownership.
But at the same time, I'm fine with like 25 to 55% Rebecky, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like it's such a wide range with him, in my opinion.
You care more about, I mentioned a good amount in the slate plan or sometimes even on the show. You care more about getting your McKinny Rovix ownership, your Slava Claus Hooper ownership more intact than you want. And if you love your ownership and you have 20% or 50%, you'd roll with it. That happens with me in a lot of these fights for sure. So I like it. 3 fights left, Big Marley. Another one right in the upper tier. We just talked 9,400 Rebecky, 100 less. Carlos Olberg, 9,300. Comes in at minus 265. Alonzo Manfield plus 225. Fights minus 275 to finish. Olberg minus 130. Manfield plus 305. This is another fight. It's like I have both tagged as overweight. I'll be playing both guys in it, but I can make a case for this fight not optimal. Ever since Olberg's debut against Kennedy, when he literally just went his balls to the walls for the first 6 minutes of the fight, Kennedy ate all the biggest shots, eventually crumpled them because Olberg had nothing left. Olberg's fight is way smarter. He's Izzy's buddy, a former kickboxer, big, strong, fast, powerful, etc. He's fine sitting at range, picking his shots, getting reads, and usually when he knocks out his opponent, it's one shot, and it's absolutely the other opponent's dead. Like, he hasn't scored more than 110, and he's had 3 first-round knockouts. Is 107 enough? Maybe, maybe not. I'll be playing Olberg because I think he's dangerous. Minus 130 inside the distance, plus 250 in round 1. But I don't know. Plus 250 in round 1. Maybe I want to max his ownership right there. I don't think round 2 knockout is probably good enough. Round 3, probably good enough. You would need multiple knockdowns more so. Manfield's a live dog. I think he'll try and wrestle in this one. You don't want to stand at range. Otherwise, get on the inside, land a big shot, and he'll be low owned. If you just look at him, he's a grown-ass man. He has power. I think Olberg picks him apart at distance, eventually knocks him out. I like Rebecky for more, though. I like Despain for less. I did like Jusette for less. Now he's gone. I like Ruieboev more in a win. I'll be playing some Olberg, but I see plenty of paths in my head where he knocks him out and he's not on the optimal.
Yeah, I have this as a 5-star, but I could see me changing it to a 4-star because they are primarily strikers, especially Olberg at $9,300. So he probably does need a first-round knockout. I could see him getting there in a second-round knockout, though. I mean, just based on that Kennedy fight, he scored 59 points in a second-round loss.
But then he went to the Fabio Sharon, and we haven't seen that Olberg once. Ever since that fight, Sharon, what did he land? 62 significant strikes? Dude is
a nasty
terrified.
Striker. I think he's a much better striker. I think he does get a first-round knockout. I don't know if I picked a first or a second-round knockout, but I do think he's got a decent chance at getting there with the second-rounder, as long as he knocks him down, of course. It's not like a standing TKO. That would suck.
Those are the worst. Those are always the worst. It's just go down.
Yeah. But I feel like he's got 105 point, a likely 105 point ceiling. So I'm probably going to get a lot of Olberg, and more so because my Rebecky lineup, I'm fine just putting Olberg in and saving the $100. So I'm guessing I end up with more Olberg than Rebecky, even though he has less paths to 100 points. And then on the Manfield side, he's I don't know if he's got more one-shot power, but he's just a freaking tank. He can knock this guy out with one shot. And if somebody is going to wrestle, I would expect it to be Manfield. And Manfield could win a decision here and put up over 10x, where Olberg, I don't think he has 10x in a decision in his game plan. So I'm cool getting leverage to both sides of this fight. But the more I think about it, I probably will move this down to a 4-star, because a 5-star for me is I want it in 75% or more of my lineups. And I don't know that I probably won't get there on this one. I'm guessing I'm around field on Manfield and then get maybe 5-10% leverage on Olberg. I think I talked myself into lowering it to a 4-star, but it's still a top 5 fight on the card for me to target. I'm going to be pretty heavy on it.
Yeah, I love it. Makes everything you said, we're kind of aligned in a lot of it. Makes total sense to me, and I'm good also. The Rebecky, if you go down from Rebecky, go Olberg. If that eliminates 30 dupes down to 15 or something, I think that would be the sharp play to do that. Hope Olberg does outscore him. 2 fights left, 2 very, very fun fights. Co-main event time. Hometown guy, Joaquin Buckley, taking on Neurosin Ruieboev, minus 135 Buckley, plus 115 Ruieboev minus 280 for this fight to finish. Buckley plus 125 inside the distance. Ruieboev plus 175. I also wanted to mention ownership in this fight because it's clear as day where the game theory leverage is. We got Buckley at 21%, Ruieboev at 38%. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. The minus 135 favorite, who's plus 125 inside the distance in a fight minus 280 to finish, is the leverage side against the dog that's 38%. I definitely see the ownership staying somewhere around there. Buckley, my preferred GPP game theory play. If I played one of them in cash, it's obviously Ruieboev over Buckley. I still will be playing. I still think there's such a thing as good chalk in MMA. It's just how you play the chalk. Hooper is going to get ownership. Ruieboev is going to get ownership. McKinney's going to get some. I'll be playing all of them. In Ruieboev lineups, maybe that's where I'll play a Hadley. Maybe that's where I'll play a Veronica Hardy, etc. If I'm playing Buckley, then I don't need to play a Veronica Hardy. I don't need to play a Jake Hadley. So I'll be playing both sides. I'll probably be more overweight to Buckley at ownership. In Ruieboev lineups, I'll make sure I'm getting different in some way, leaving salary. I mean, at 38% for Ruieboev and 21% Buckley, though, I don't care what my pick is, which actually is Ruieboev. Buckley is the clear game theory play, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I guess I will say, though, I think the Buckley hype after Luque fight is a little too wide for this line. Like, I mean, man, Luque just might be not gone, not over the hill toast, but he ain't the same Vicente Luque as once. So, yeah, Ruieboev is the pick, but I'll probably have more Buckley and GPPs.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I actually think I might fade Buckley on this card. Like you got to go back 10 fights for Buckley before he's made the optimal lineup on DraftKings. He
Was
can
that
mix
Derive?
in wrestling.
Was that the Derive fight or what fight
No,
was it?
that was Jordan Wright. Like,
oh, wow.
Jordan Wright. Like anybody should be on the optimal lineup. Against
Yeah.
that guy. And then I think before that, he was a big underdog where he got that spinning kick over Impa Kasangane.
Yep.
I think those are the only two times he's made the optimal lineup in like a 12-fight UFC career. The best thing about Buckley is his power. And if he gets a first-round knockout, he's probably going to be on the optimal lineup. He is live for a first-round knockout. But I favor Ruieboev in this one. There's way more unknowns about Ruieboev because he's got like 1 million fights, but only like 7 of them have film. But I just think he might be the goods. I think he's probably our better wrestler here. He's for sure going to be our more dangerous submission artist. And I think he's got just as much knockout power as Buckley. I also think he could be our minute winner on the feet or the ground here. So Ruieboev is my favorite underdog from a winning perspective. But I also feel like he might be my highest owned underdog because I think he's going to get a finish in this fight. And it could be on the feet and it could be on the ground. But any Ruieboev win probably scores more than 10x. And I also think he's got a really good chance at 100 points at $7,500. And Buckley, if he's not getting a first-round knockout, I just don't see him making the optimal lineup. And if these guys are going to fight 100 times, I feel like Ruieboev averages more in his wins than Buckley averages in his. So definitely trying to save that $1,200. I'm going to be overweight to Ruieboev. And I might X out Buckley, to be honest with you, and just hope he doesn't land that big shot in the first.
It makes sense. You do have definitely some balls, especially at this ownership, but it makes some sense. Yeah, I'll probably, again, in cash games, if I'm playing one of these two, it is definitely Ruieboev over Buckley. Still by far, it's a really tough cash week. Like, I mean, under 1.5 is plus 115. Buckley's plus 125 to finish. He's plus 285 in round one. That means there's very live that Buckley goes out there, starches them in round one. Ruieboev puts up 8 DK points. So I'm not saying I love. Like, I don't know. I have no clue what I'm doing for cash at all. Just in GPPs at 38% and 21%. It's so much easier to get more overweight on the 21%. I'll be more chalky in Buckley lineups and Ruieboev lineups. I'll look to get a little different. Like both, for sure, though. Good fight. I am picking Ruieboev with you as well. At worst, I think this is a minus 110 coin flip. Yeah, maybe live bet Buckley. Any thoughts on that? Like cardio-wise? Like Ruieboev, I'm not sold that he has cardio. He's also cutting down. So the weight cut's tough. We've seen Buckley go 3. Any thoughts there? Like, I'll be looking. I watch a lot of these fights. I think betting MMA live is the biggest edge out there in betting now, all sports. So I personally will be looking for a Buckley live, I think, spot, but any thoughts there?
No, I already bet Ruieboev, so I'm not going to be betting Buckley at all.
Sounds good. Last fight on the card, main event, Black Beast, Derek Lewis taking on Rodrigo Nascimento, -155, Lewis +135. Nascimento, this fight is -1,000 to finish. Derek Lewis -145. Nascimento +155. So I guess I'll just say this literally fight is kind of like that last fight. My pick is Derek Lewis by first round knockout. My pick was Ruieboev. But I think the game theory GPP play is Nascimento. Derek Lewis will probably be about 50% owned. I think Nascimento will be somewhere around, let's go 34% owned. At that ownership and the $600 savings, like it's just Nascimento for me. If you don't know anything about MMA, which some of the best DFS players don't know about anything in their sport because they just look at numbers, analytics. Like MMA is a duplicate sport, so not duping with 115 people when they win, etc. Nascimento for 1.5, or like he's not half the ownership, but 1.5 less owned and a +135 with 600 savings with the ground advantage. Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be more overweight on Nascimento because I'm picking Lewis by first round knockouts, but I think he's the right game theory play. And I can be more chalky in those lineups. I can leave money easier. I think Derek Lewis gets a lot of steam, not just for -155 and his inside the distance prop, but because that mid-tier is so bad. Like imagine if Tabitha Ricci and Veronica Hardy weren't in there and we had like another -300 inside the distance props. Then the mid-tier is so much better. So the odds or the ownership is more spread out. With that being so bad, you need to play someone in the mid-tier. Oh, who do we play? Main event, Derek Lewis. So just naturally, people are gravitate to him because of the nature of the card. Again, I think it's a good play. He has upside. Now, last thing I will say, I think this fight could go second round, third round. Lewis gets a knockout, scores 88. 88 might not be enough at all that ownership. I will have some fight fades in the main event, and I think that's a way you can sell those ship with a lot less people. A lot of talking right there. That's enough for me, though. How do you see it?
I agree. I'm picking Lewis first round knockout. That's why I like him as my preferred play. I probably get close to 50% Lewis, but that's around field weight. I just feel like I'm going to be around field weight on both sides of this fight. And you made the case for this fight not being on the optimal lineup. Nascimento wins the first round. Even in a second round Lewis knockout, he probably doesn't make it. So I mean, first round knockout or bust almost for Lewis, because if these guys are just striking for a round and then Lewis gets a second round knockout, even if he wins the first round striking wise, he's not going to land more than like 10 strikes in that round. So he's got to get that first round knockout. But I just think he gets it. I just don't think Nascimento is good enough of a striker. I also don't think he's a good enough of a wrestler to feel confident in him getting the takedowns. If he does get one takedown, he probably holds it the rest of the round or maybe even gets a finish. But I'll still have at least 30% Nascimento. I'll get a bunch there. But I do think like single entry, avoiding this fight does make a little bit of sense, and just hoping that Nascimento wins that first round and then loses later on in the fight. Maybe that's my way to get different with a single entry, but I'm going to have a lot of Lewis, at least 50%, I think, because I think he's going to get a first round knockout. And I also think he's super live for that 60-second bonus in this one. It's like Despain first, Lewis second, McKinney third. Those are like the only ones I feel like are really super live for that 60 seconds. Hooper Borchev as well.
Olberg, if he lands a big head kick or something, he's not going to throw many strikes, but you know he can dead him early.
I wish he would, man. I wish he would come out like he did in that Kennedy fight. But yeah, I just feel like Lewis is a guy I feel I have a pretty good track record against. I mean, and on. I usually pick against him, and he usually loses. But he got dominated by Almeida. He still stuffed more takedowns than Almeida landed. And if you're stuffing takedowns against Nascimento, I don't think he's going to keep coming with them like Almeida would. And I think dude
was getting beat by Alain Badeau in the first round a couple years ago. Like, dude, that fight was one of the worst. Like, it feels too obvious with Derek Lewis. Last thing I will mention though, I'm surprised to see this line still hovering around -155. Like, I expected it to get to -180. Like, I don't know. The line was, and that always scares me when I cap it at a larger number, especially in a main event when you know this fight's taking plenty of money. Derek Lewis is everyone's darling. Like no one who wants to bet Rodrigo Nascimento, but the line's not moving much, which also scares me. So I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah, I capped his ceiling at -185. So I do think if it moves more into his favor.
Yeah.
But just another great fight, 5-star fight for me. It'll be in 75 to 80% of my lineups, I would imagine. And I'm hoping almost that Lewis gets that 60-second knockout, because if that happens, then I got him in 55% of my lineups. I'll be feeling pretty good as long as I'm not dead already.
Yeah, as long as Veronica Hardy or JJ Aldridge don't break the slate and after fight one.
Oh, I won't even watch the card if that happens. Yeah, it'll be over.
Boo. That's all 12 fights. Good stuff, Big Marley. Like always, we appreciate Little Neck's in here, Ben's in here, Grapefruit, Michael Peterson, said hi to plenty of people. Always appreciate you guys watching live. We know most of you watch on playback. We appreciate you guys just as much as well. Any comments you guys have helps us out a ton below. Like button, subscribe button. Again, if you want to join us at the Nation, it's one of your last chances to get in for our lowest price. Wednesday, prices are going up. Our 1-year anniversary on that PGA show. We're giving away swag. We're giving away tickets. We're giving away some money. Founding family member. If you've been with us from the beginning, actually check your email. I did see an email just went out for the PGA for founding family members. Merch is in there. Money's in there as well. We've given out $15,000 so far in cash. Not even 1 year in. Awesome stuff by the team. Hoop and Tambo have created a very awesome atmosphere over here. You guys, the members in the Discord, keeps growing by the day as well. Awesome stuff. Awesome conversations. People always helping each other out. See so many screenshots in there. I'm ready to make some money this week, Big Marley. Plenty of sports to do it at. Let's talk next Friday with more money in our pocket than we had this Friday. Final thoughts for the people.
Nah, man, good luck to you in that qualifier. Good luck to the rest of Shipping Nation who's in there as well. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it.
Let's ship it, baby. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. For Big Marley, I'm Titletown. Peace.